On August 12, 2022, 22-year-old superstar Fernando Tatis Jr. was suspended for violating MLB's performance-enhancing drug policy. It's been almost 4 years since the suspension, meaning the two halves of Tatis's career can be split equally. Offensively, the differences are substantial, notably a 30-point difference in WRC+ and a 40-point difference in OPS+, stemming from a staggering near 140-point difference in slugging percentage. Now sure, Tatis has transformed into a Platinum Glove-winning defender while maintaining perennial all-star talent.
Oh, he leaps and makes the catch!
That's platinum right there, folks.
But think of it like this. Ahead of the 2021 season, MLB.com's Mark Feinsand posed a question to executives around the league. Excluding contracts and team control, if you could start a team with Ronald Acuna Jr., Juan Soto, or Fernando Tatis Jr., who would you pick and why? Out of the 20 executives who responded, 11 of them, or 55%, chose Tatis as their team's superstar. While he had played less than half the number of big league games as his peers, his ultra-rare combination of power and speed at the shortstop position made him the most appealing option. Years later, while Soto signed the largest contract in sports history and Acuna has MVP hardware, Tatis's reputation is stained by a pivotal event that's forever altered his career trajectory. And today, I'd like to analyze the before and after in order to answer the ultimate question. Can Tatis recapture his former offensive excellence, or is it an unattainable peak best left in the past?
Third home run of the night for Fernando! The trifecta for the Nando! Well, for the first time in the major leagues, Fernando Tatis Jr. is coming to the plate for his first major league at-bat. On the ground and into left field. First major league hit for Fernando Tatis Jr.
I'll never forget that opening day. It just clicked that moment. I felt the love. It was mutual right away. I said, this is home. 2019 opening day marked a new era for Padres baseball, a transition away from their perennial state of rebuilding towards a prosperous future headlined by a new duo. The $300 million Manny Machado and 20-year-old rookie Fernando Tatis Jr. I told myself I'd attend 2019 opening day if the Padres signed Machado or Bryce Harper, but witnessing a top 3 prospect make his big league debut was the cherry on top. After all, due to the once common practice of service time manipulation, which incentivizes a team to delay a prospect's debut in order to gain an extra year of team control, it was assumed the start of Tatis's big league journey would be delayed. Then, he made one play in spring training that caught everyone's attention.
And now he's going to try to score. Throw to the play, not in time. Wow. Wow.
From that moment, we were like, this guy needs to be in the big leagues. Questions of Tatis's big league readiness mainly stemmed from a 25.5% strikeout rate across his first 3 minor league seasons. Although, in general manager AJ Preller's eyes, Tatis had the ability to impact the game in other ways. He was such a good base runner, and seeing him do that consistently throughout spring training, but with that play really standing out, it just told us he was going to be able to impact our team in all kinds of ways. And that's exactly what he did.
In the air to deep left field, his first home run in the majors is a 2-run blast.
This kid is going to be one of the great Padres of all time.
It's a deep short of the backhand. Tatis is up and throwing, and he gets it there in plenty of time. Diving at shortstop is Tatis Jr. Liner caught. The shortstop by Tatis Jr. Doesn't get better than that.
And they got Tatis picked off. If anybody can get out of a pickle, it's Fernando Tatis Jr. And he did! What doesn't he do? What isn't exciting? So that's the second out. And Tatis going to try to come home and score, and he's out. He thinks he was safe. He wants a challenge. Unbelievable. The kid is absolutely electric.
Various injuries shortened Tatis's rookie season to only 84 games. Still, he routinely captured the attention of the entire baseball world by showcasing his elite 5-tool skill set. From a batting average over 300, to his elite home run power, to his game-changing speed, to a cannon of an arm, and finally, his otherworldly athleticism at shortstop. To longtime journalist Peter Gammons, Tatis was the most exciting young player he'd seen since Ken Griffey Jr. However, as exciting as these qualities were, Tatis's rookie season was far from perfect. Between a BABIP over 400, a near 30% strikeout rate, and a first percentile outs above average, the negatives were glaring enough to question his true potential. Until 2020 softened these narratives.
And out goes Tatis to make the catch! Up into the air like Superman! And he hits a high drive to deep left field. That ball is up and it is gone! On top of the Western Metal Supply Company building, Fernando Tatis Jr. has left the field literally! Tatis drives one to deep left field. High, deep, and very gone! Think he knew he got it?
Oh. Wow.
Unfortunately, Tatis was once again limited to a non-162 game season. But over these 59 games, the now 21-year-old elevated his status to a new level. Not only did he maintain his elite home run power, he now possessed the 100th percentile hard hit rate to sustain this output over a full season. In addition, he improved his strikeout rate, walk rate, and suddenly transformed into a 97th percentile defender. Altogether, in just his second season, Tatis was a bona fide MVP caliber talent, illustrating these skills with a unique brand of flair and passion seldom seen at the big league level during this time. A combination that rubbed some people the wrong way.
This is in the air to right field. Nando has done it again! A grand slam!
With a 7-run lead in the top of the 8th, Tatis hit not only his second home run of the day, but his first career grand slam, becoming the 4th youngest player in MLB history to tally at least 7 RBIs in a game, as written by MLB.com's Sarah Langs. However, these weren't the numbers talked about after the game. Instead, it was the numbers 3-0. Tatis's decision to swing on a 3-0 pitch with the bases loaded while being up 7 runs was seen by both teams' managers as disrespectful to the game's unwritten rules. A set of long-standing guidelines upheld by veteran players and coaches rooted in the preservation of tradition and decorum within the game, however vague that may sound. As a result, Tatis apologized, saying while he was aware of the prevalence of unwritten rules given he was raised by a former big leaguer, he missed the sign from his third base coach to take the 3-0 pitch because he was so locked into the game. Now, in defense of the Padres rookie manager, Tingler said he had no intention of limiting Tatis's free-spirited nature. Nonetheless, the absurdity of the situation quickly spread around the baseball world, with the general consensus being one of annoyance and frustration. MLB preached to let the kids play, but clearly remnants of the old guard still remained entrenched in the game. Case in point, as found by The Ringer's Ben Lindbergh and Baseball Prospectus's Lucas Apostolaris, since 1988, in situations where the batting team was up by 6 runs or more in the 7th or later, with the bases loaded and a 3-0 count, Tatis was only the 4th batter and first since 1996 to swing 3-0. An example of an unwritten rule so ingrained into the league's culture, but still, as a whole, a uniquely American concept.
When I came to the States is when I first started learning about how much more strict those unwritten rules or that etiquette was.
And the game isn't played everywhere under America's unwritten rules. In the Dominican Republic, there's more expressiveness. There's palpable joy.
Ironically, manager Fernando Tatis Sr. wasn't a fan of his son's exaggerated bat flip, although he admitted it was something he needed to accept as the upcoming generation was changing the baseball landscape. and his son was at the forefront of this evolution.
Ripped to left field and gone in a hurry. Tatis delivers the electricity with a 3-run shot.
Scrutinized for much less weeks prior, this iconic bat flip in Game 2 of the 2020 Wildcard Series was immortalized as the cover of MLB The Show 21, establishing Tatis as not only a leader of the league's new generation, but placing him on a path towards becoming the undisputed face of baseball. A type of talent the historically downtrodden Padres had no intention of letting go.
Breaking news out of San Diego, as reportedly the Padres and Fernando Tatis Jr. are in agreement on a 14-year, $340 million contract extension.
Padres now have 2 of the biggest contracts in Major League history at one time.
This guy's special, and they've fallen in love with him in San Diego. I'm not just talking about the organization. That city has one pro sports team, and this is the franchise guy.
When Tatis and GM AJ Preller discussed the prospect of an extension, 3 options were laid out. Option 1, going year by year. Option 2, a shorter multi-year extension that ensures Tatis hits free agency around his prime. Option 3, a long-term mega deal that potentially keeps Tatis as a Padre for his entire career. Or, more concisely, a statue contract. According to Preller, in typical Toddy fashion, his only real comment was, "Why not my whole career?" A player who had aspired to become the Dominican Derek Jeter, Tatis had long admired the greats who stayed on one team and built a winning culture. He sought to do the same in San Diego. Committing such a monstrous contract to a player with less than a full season's worth of games was certainly questionable, but the talent was undeniable. Only a player as talented as Tatis could embark on the meteoric rise from lottery ticket prospect to 5-tool generational phenom to a $340 million superstar by the age of 22. Although, with all this in mind, one question remained. What could Tatis accomplish over a full 162-game season?
Lined and caught by Fernando! You cannot do it any better than that!
Oh wait, sorry. Wrong play.
Lined and caught by Fernando! You cannot do it any better than that! Superhuman Fernando Tatis Jr. up into the air! And a stolen base, keep the football, and he did, into a split. Opposite field, Nando, home run!
He's a showstopper. He can do the splits. He can hit with power. He can field. He can throw.
Tatis, his throw on a hop is in time. 3rd home run of the night for Fernando. The trifecta for the Nando. This is still Slam Diego, and this is Fernando Tatis Jr.'s world. Fernando hits one in the air down the left field line and is headed towards the pole. It is headed onto the tracks. With 2 outs in the 9th, the Padres have tied it up 6-6.
Every time I see this home run, I chuckle at this guy's reaction. You just know he was dreading that exact outcome. 2021 was an excellent year for Tatis. Injuries limited his season to only 130 games, but that was plenty of time to accumulate 42 home runs, 25 stolen bases, over 6 WAR, and a 166 OPS+. In fact, per StatHead, Tatis is one of only 6 players with a 40 home run, 160 OPS+ season through the age of 22. By the way, as an avid user of StatHead, I'm happy to say I'm now an ambassador for Baseball Reference, so shout out to them. Now, here's some more incredible stats courtesy of StatHead. Not only was Tatis the only player to accumulate at least 80 home runs and 50 stolen bases between 2019 and 2021, he's the only player in MLB history to hit these milestones along with a 160 OPS+ through their first 3 seasons, and Tatis' StatCast metrics such as exit velocity, hard hit rate, and barrel rate proved this output was sustainable. In short, Tatis was not only a superstar, he was on track towards a level of stardom only a select few have ever attained. Except this path to stardom could also be characterized in another way.
To the back of the pavilion and on top of the pavilion. I have never seen a ball hit that far at Dodger Stadium.
Turbulent.
Swing and a miss, and Tatis hurts himself on the swing and appears to be clutching his arm.
5 games into the 2021 season, Tatis suffered a left shoulder subluxation, basically a partial dislocation of the shoulder, with further exams showing a slight labrum tear. This just a couple weeks after Tatis left a spring training game due to shoulder soreness. It turned out that he had been dealing with minor shoulder issues since his time in the minor leagues, and while immediate surgery wasn't necessary, it was an inevitability according to Virginia Zakas of Inside Injuries, and until surgery was completed, these events were likely to grow more frequent, a problem exacerbated by Tatis's high-energy play style. In total, Tatis suffered at least 4 partial dislocations of his left shoulder throughout the 2021 calendar year. Following the initial April episode, he chose against immediate surgery, instead opting to mitigate risk with constant treatment and maintenance, including a focus on a two-handed follow-through with his swing and even spending some time in the outfield between August and September. However, following the 2021 season, a season where the Padres underwent a historic second-half collapse, which included an infamous dugout argument between Tatis and Manny Machado, Tatis not only stated his desire to remain at shortstop, he elected against off-season shoulder surgery. I feel like I'm in a great spot. My shoulder's in a great spot, and I'm very secure in where I'm at right now. Through one lens, perhaps this was a short-sighted decision given the consensus that surgery was an inevitability. However, while orthopedic surgeon Dr. Brian Lee labeled the odds of a successful return to play following surgery at 90%, the odds of returning to the same level of play lowered to 80%. Pretty good odds, sure, but considering how well Tatis played in 2021 despite the frequency of injury, he was likely confident that an offseason of strength training and maintenance could prepare him to tackle another full season of management in order to ensure surgery couldn't zap away any of his natural ability. As put by Dennis Lin of The Athletic, nothing in medicine offers complete certainty. Surgery, if Tatis has it at some point, might lower his ceiling. Without it, he might build on his MVP candidacy in 2022, even if he spends time on the injured list. In a worst-case scenario, he might end up spending too much time on the shelf. Well, no one could have predicted the extent of what that worst-case scenario truly entailed.
I don't know how you can put it out there. I feel like everybody's disappointed, especially me. I was doing my activities. It was something I could have pulled off. But then, while we were getting more heavy on the field stuff, it got me more and more.
Heading into the 2022 season, it was uncovered that Tatis had fractured his wrist, sidelining him for at least 3 months. Now, it'd be one thing if he fractured his wrist during baseball-related activities, but team doctors determined the fracture was a few months old, which aligned with the report that Tatis was involved in a motorcycle accident back home in the Dominican Republic. Initially, it was reported he suffered only minor scrapes and bruises, which is what his representatives told Padres team doctors, and because the MLB lockout prevented direct communication between players and teams, the team took this diagnosis at face value. Now, team doctors were allowed to provide care to players during the lockout as they were not Padres team employees, but Tatis said he didn't feel much pain at the time apart from the feeling of a jammed wrist similar to sliding into second base. It wasn't until he ramped up baseball activities that the pain resurfaced and intensified as workouts became more rigorous. Oh, and there was also this gem.
When was the accident?
Which one?
The motorcycle accident.
When the reporters were reporting.
Yeah, not great. To be fair, 30 seconds prior, Tatis mentioned a different incident.
Do you think it was something other than the accident, or that something happened in the accident and then it got worse?
I got a couple incidents. I don't know. It's the wrist. It could be anything. I don't know how you put it out there, but I got one more fall, but it was nothing crazy. Like I mentioned, it was something like it's just small pain and it goes away and you do like normal activities. But when you really trying to ramp it up or push it out there, that's where it got me.
So he didn't necessarily allude to there being two separate motorcycle accidents when he asked which one. In fact, this other incident was later revealed to be Tatis tripping over a hurdle while training. Nonetheless, even when considering the communication limits set by the lockout, Tatis was at fault for an injury likely caused by an activity often contractually categorized as a dangerous activity a player must avoid. And now the Padres, who were still reeling from their collapse the year prior, were now without their superstar shortstop for at least a few months. Fortunately, even as setbacks pushed his return date to beyond the trade deadline, the Padres were playing well, and following the historic acquisition of superstar Juan Soto, the return of Tatis was set to establish an incredible big three determined to fulfill championship aspirations.
So for the second time in 3 years, the Padres are going back to the postseason in 2022. For the first time in 24 years, the San Diego Padres are headed to the National League Championship Series.
Except that didn't happen.
I would like to start this day just by saying I'm truly sorry. I am really sorry.
Padres superstar Fernando Tatis Jr. has been suspended for 80 games after testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs.
Kevin, the 80-game suspension is perhaps the biggest Major League Baseball has seen in terms of name since Alex Rodriguez.
I thought it was ridiculous. Like, why do you have to juice?
Disappointment, yep. That was the first thing I thought of.
This is twice now. You do the dumb motorcycle stuff, and now you get caught, whether it's negligence or you're actually trying to cheat the game. I guess we might not ever know that.
It's a letdown to not only me and fans of baseball, but to kids. This is massive, and it will taint the rest of his career, unfortunately.
To say I was shocked reading this news is an understatement. A young superstar on track to becoming the face of the league?
That ball is back and it is gone! He's a superhero!
Testing positive for PEDs? This was unprecedented. Since MLB implemented suspensions for PED usage back in 2005, only counting active big leaguers at the time of their suspension, at least 27 suspended players were all-stars at some point in their careers. This list includes Gold Glovers, Silver Sluggers, and MVPs. However, only 7 earned awards within the 3 seasons prior to their suspension, including Ryan Braun, who was named National League MVP 2 years before he was suspended. So, considering Tatis finished 3rd in the 2021 NL MVP race, only he and Braun could be considered MVP caliber talents. But what really sets Tatis apart is his age. Of these 27 players, 18 were in their age 30 season or higher when suspended. That's 66.7%. The only comparable players are Yasmani Grandal and Emmanuel Clase, but neither player had achieved the level of success Tatis had. To put it simply, this was an unprecedented suspension, and ultimately just extremely disappointing. Tatis tested positive for Clostebol, an anabolic steroid that essentially mimics testosterone, which is the substance that got both Freddie Galvis and D. Strange Gordon suspended in the past. According to Tatis, he inadvertently took a medication that contained Clostebol to treat ringworm. To treat this infection, which Tatis's father claimed stemmed from a haircut, he used a topical medication that contained Clostebol called Trophabol. While anabolic steroids like Clostebol are restricted in the US due to its classification as a controlled substance, it's widely available in topical creams and sprays in other countries, including the Dominican Republic, where some are sold over the counter. Tatis said he received this medication around the time he was tested in June while at home in the Dominican Republic, and he did not consult with Padres medical staff. Had he consulted with the team doctors, not only would they have vehemently denied use of the product due to the banned substance, but as stated by 2 separate doctors quoted by the New York Times, a topical steroid of this nature would be a very bizarre treatment for a fungal infection like ringworm. A couple weeks later, in his first public press conference since his suspension, Tatis clarified the ringworm story.
I've been dealing with skin infection on the course of the years. During that period of time that I got tested, I got this medication that it was not from my medical staff back over here in the Padres. And then soon later, I tested positive, and then it was more like it. But at the end of the day, there's no excuses. There's no excuses. I need to do a way better job on what is going inside my body, and there's no excuse in these actions.
So, a couple weeks after his initial statement, Tatis said he'd actually been dealing with a skin infection for a number of years. For many, this clarification, or retraction, whatever you want to call it, is a clear indication of lying. After all, he initially sought to appeal the suspension after receiving news of the positive test in late July, which, if successful, would have dropped his suspension from 80 to 30 games. However, despite believing he had a strong case at the beginning, his advisors informed him he likely wouldn't win an appeal in front of an independent arbitration panel, so he chose to begin serving the suspension. Remember, regardless of the intent, Tatis violated a zero-tolerance policy, which brings into question just how much clostebol was detected in his test sample. Back in 2020, a European study was published focusing on the growing prevalence of clostebol in positive test screenings, with many of these athletes claiming inadvertent use. Here's what the study's abstract states. We have investigated, through the application of the well-known and currently used gas chromatographic mass Oh my god, this is going to be insane. Through the application of the well-known and currently used gas chromatographic mass spectrometric procedures, the likelihood of these allegations, and have demonstrated that after a single transdermal administration of 5 milligrams of clostebol acetate and a transient contact within the application area, it is possible to generate adverse analytical findings in anti-doping controls. However, the study also states that most athletes, specifically 77% of the cases the lab examined, test positive for very low levels of clostebol, which is a defense that has led to successful appeals in other sports. This may indicate that the level found in Tatis' sample was beyond any type of margin for error, but it's crucial to note that the level alone doesn't indicate intent, nor does it determine the method of entry, whether it's through the skin like Tatis claimed, or through the more common methods used to enhance performance, like orally or through injection. So perhaps Tatis was telling the truth, but the lack of irrefutable evidence necessary to challenge MLB's specific PED policy ended any chances of a successful appeal. Or the truth is simply Tatis used clostebol with the intent to enhance performance, whether as a temporary boost ahead of his big league return from wrist injury, or a permanent fixture in his training regimen. It's a question that'll be debated throughout the remainder of Tatis' career, and that's a reality he had brought upon himself.
With all the resources you have, why didn't you reach out to someone on the Padres to make sure this is something you could take?
It was a stupid mistake. It was me being reckless. It was me not going to the people I know they can help me.
Ironically, Tatis' inherent reckless nature combined with the aforementioned questions surrounding clostebol brought a level of plausibility to his story. However, there was also a level of absurdity, one not too dissimilar to excuses by suspended athletes in the past. That's not me stating Tatis was lying, rather understanding why someone would think so.
What would you say to fans who wonder now, that doubt whether you're still the kind of player you've showed before? In other words, the stuff you've done in the past might have been artificially enhanced.
I will tell all the worst and everything I've done in the past. I got nothing to do with it, but at the same time, I've gave them those reasons to think that way. But it's up to me now.
Whether it's questions or doubts surrounding his natural abilities, his absence directly contributing to the heartbreak of the 2022 Padres, or the plummet off the vertical rocket towards superstardom and beyond. A permanent stain is forever etched into the story of Fernando Tatis Jr., and it's up to him alone to determine how this story ends.
It's a very long way going forward. I'm gonna remember how this feels. And I'm gonna make myself not ever be in this position ever again.
Fernando, a lot of fans don't believe you. They don't believe that this was a mistake, that it was something more malicious. What would you say to those fans who don't believe your story?
That I'm gonna give them a story to believe in me again.
But that's a goal easier said than done. The moment this PED suspension was announced, Tatis transformed from superstar sensation to fraudulent villain in the eyes of many. For months, this vitriol was contained online, but with his return to the field in April 2023, the typical away crowd heckles Tatis experienced in the past were now personalized taunts. Even worse, now on a personal island in right field, there was no escape. An indirect consequence of his transition away from shortstop, or perhaps even a condemnation by the baseball gods themselves. No matter the case, a continuous wrath was set to follow Tatis for the foreseeable future. In short, this was his newfound reality. A reality he chose to embrace.
To right center, and coming is Tatis, and that ball is going to be caught by Fernando. They're all over him in the bleachers.
Oh yeah, the bleachers will be all over him there.
I grew up in this game, and I've seen everything. I know how fans are going to react. I know how to interact with them. Whatever is out there, you've got to totally embrace it. It's part of the game. Some will undoubtedly reject Tatis's carefree demeanor. However, for a player not only defined, but once embraced for his showcase of on-field emotions, I'd expect no different response. With that being said, what ultimately matters is his performance on the field.
Fernando Tatis Jr. back home as he gets ready to take the field tonight and head to right field. Dodgers have the lead over the Padres. Bottom of the third. In the air to left center field. Onto the track at the wall. That ball is gone. Well, Fernando's going to run the bases, and this game is tied. Driven to left field on a line. That's gone too. Nando goes yard again. If it's fair, it's gone. And Tatis has left the building.
That flip dismount Wayne. Oh my goodness. It was borderline disrespectful.
Coming here to Philly, and an answer with a two-run home run comes Fernando. He's going to steal home. Fernando Tatis Jr. just walked in. Don't take your eye off him. He may steal home. Deep center field. Back goes Thomas at the wall. It's gone. Nando. High fly ball to deep right field, sending Fernando back at the wall. He leaps and makes the catch, and he robs him of a home run.
AJ gave me that challenge if I could win the Gold Glove. I brought platinum to the table. In his longest season to this point, Tatis flashed bits of his former brilliance, while unexpectedly transitioning from error-prone shortstop to platinum glove right fielder. However, as impressive as he looked at times, these flashes rarely produced streaks of consistency. Moreover, as productive as a 25 home run, 29 stolen base, 110 OPS plus, 5 B-WAR season is, it paled in comparison to his numbers just 2 years prior, adding fuel to the doubts many fans held concerning his past success. Plus, it didn't exactly help this was in the midst of arguably the most disappointing season in Padres history. A team who entered the season with visions of championship glory under the establishment of a potentially historic core four.
He says, who do you predict to play when you guys go to the World Series?
Who you guys want us to face? It doesn't matter because we're still going to win it all.
Until those visions evaporated away over the course of a miserable season. Still, it's incredibly unfair for Tatis alone to shoulder the responsibility of a team-wide failure. After all, he underwent shoulder surgery as well as a second wrist surgery ahead of the season. This was one of the factors that led some to believe Tatis was a dark horse MVP candidate for 2024. Let's compare Tatis's StatCast percentile rankings between 2021 and 2023. Right away, you'll notice a slight decrease of the bright red that indicates elite metrics. He's still ranked amongst the elite in average exit velocity and hard hit rate, but an already subpar sweet spot rate lowered to a well below average level, a combination that limited his barrel rate potential, which is the best batted ball classification a hitter can receive. In addition, the 2023 Padres experienced the conundrum of being good at baseball, but bad at winning, a team-wide phenomenon that affected Tatis the most.
To the winning track, to the wall, leaps up, then he makes the catch! And Julio Rodriguez takes a home run away from Fernando Tatis Jr.
I've got 109, 110 off the bat, and it's still not going out. That's everything I can control. Like I've been saying for how long? 3 weeks? 4? A month? Turns out, it was almost all season. In terms of difference between slugging percentage and expected slugging percentage, which is calculated using exit velocity and launch angle, Tatis's slugging percentage was 64 points below his expected slugging percentage, a difference that ranked third league-wide behind only Ronald Acuna Jr. and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Although Tatis saw Acuna's 2023 season as the blueprint for his own 2024. Why would Tatis follow the blueprint that led to a statistically unluckier season than his own? Well, this is why.
Joining Shohei Ohtani, the 2023 National League Most Valuable Player, Ronald Acuna Jr.
A 40-70 season and a season unlike any other in Major League Baseball history for Ronald Acuna Jr.
In 2023, Acuna led the league with an expected slugging percentage of .668, but he produced a slugging percentage of only .596. Through this specific lens, Acuna was the unluckiest hitter of the 2023 season, yet he still produced the first 40 home runs, 70 stolen base season in MLB history. Tatis sought to replicate this blueprint. After all, in addition to their similar skill sets and the fact Acuna credits a mechanical tweak recommended by Fernando Tatis Sr. as a foundational catalyst behind his MVP campaign, the paths of these two players had intertwined in many ways. Think of it like this. For both players, the 2021 season represented a final showcase of their respective abilities before major surgeries. In terms of StatCast quality of contact metrics, their outputs were near identical. Then, in their respective seasons following surgery, they both experienced a slight decline. Then, in 2023, over 1 year recovered from his ACL surgery, Acuna returned to his prior peak. Tatis was on a mission to do the same. You can't come out of nowhere and just be the same guy you've always been. But I know for sure that next year is going to be a monster year, not only for myself, but for the team.
Come to bat, trailing 8-7, and a tying run on base to begin the inning.
High drive, deep left field, at the wall, gone! Padres trailed 8-0. Hernando makes it 9-8. Unbelievable! Fly ball headed towards left field. He's looking up and it's gone! Fernando Tatis Jr. loves hitting at Dodger Stadium. Driven to left field off the bat of Fernando and his back. It is very gone! Deep left field off the bat of Fernando Tatis Jr. That is finds the wall, he leaps and makes the catch! Fernando made the grab in right!
And that will bring Fernando Tatis Jr. to the plate. 5-5 game, bottom of the 10th inning.
On the ground in left field, base hit! Oh, Fernando's back! And he's back big! Padres walk it off! Line towards right center field! That gets down! Coming around from second is Lockridge! Padres will walk it off!
It's one of the most beautiful sights that the game can bring to a baseball player. Just making your crowd going crazy is what we dream of as a kid. Hitting a home run in a clutch spot in a postseason meaning something is definitely what you work for. And those are definitely memories you're going to take forever. Now in 2024, Tatis entered a long-awaited pit stop on his road to redemption.
Machado touches third, fires to second, out at first, it's a triple play! The San Diego Padres have clinched their spot in the postseason after a magical 2024 campaign!
What a party, man. Emotion to the roof right now. I'm just happy to be part of this special group, and I can't wait for the other steps.
This time in front of an electric, championship-starved Petco Park crowd.
Number 23,
He swings, sends one high and deep to left. He's watching, so are 44,000 others. Oh, what a start for the Padres. This place is on its feet.
It's been amazing. This group has been special, and I love what we have over here, and it's a beautiful time in San Diego right now.
What's this series against the Dodgers going to be like?
It's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be a great baseball. Play it out there, and can't wait.
Right fielder number 23, Fernando Tatis Jr.
Tatis launches that one in the air. Deep down the left field line. It is way back and gone. A home run.
Make no mistake about it. This young man is meant to be on this stage.
What do you expect back in San Diego?
Can't wait to be back home in front of our fans.
On an 0-2 pitch, a missile. Fernando Tatis Jr. Electric.
Ignoring the dreaded 24 innings following this home run, Tatis was near unstoppable during this postseason. Since the start of the integration era in 1947, only 5 players have produced at least a 1500 OPS over 30-plus plate appearances in a single postseason. 1989 Ricky Henderson, 2002 Barry Bonds, 2004 Carlos Beltran, 2008 Manny Ramirez, and 2024 Fernando Tatis Jr. In his first national showcase of this magnitude since his suspension, Tatis delivered arguably the best showing of his entire career. In direct contrast to 2023, where Tatis was the begrudging face of a historically unlucky/unclutch Padres offense, in 2024, he was a leader of one of the most clutch offenses in the 21st century. So perhaps the takeaway should be where Tatis goes is where the Padres go. Well, to a certain extent. Unfortunately, Tatis missed 1/3 of the regular season due to a stress reaction in his right thigh, and while stats like OPS plus and WRC plus improved significantly, he still hadn't matched his 2021 peak. Not to mention, his defensive value noticeably dipped, likely due to the thigh injury. Now, in terms of quality of contact metrics, Tatis had followed the aforementioned blueprint laid out by Ronald Acuna Jr. to a T. Elite exit velocity, hard hit rate, and barrel rate despite subpar sweet spot rates. But there was still a stark contrast in on-field results, partially because Tatis didn't exhibit the patience Acuna did in his MVP campaign. However, to be fair to Tatis, he was much more of a free swinger back in his 2021 near MVP season. Yet, despite the StatCast similarities, the on-field results were vastly different. So why was this the case? Well, outside of 2021, I'd argue Tatis's approach hasn't been fully optimized to attain his peak offensive potential.
So the tying runs are in scoring position, but there are now 2 outs, and it is up to Isaac Paredes.
This is Isaac Paredes, and I want you to find the similarities with all of these home runs.
His 1-1 pitch.
He's Jose Trevino.
This ball hit well to left field. Ball game over. Isan Paredes starts the party for the Astros.
They were all hit to the pull side, an established staple of Paredes' game. In the StatCast era, there have been a total of 59,419 regular season home runs. 63.8% of these home runs were hit to the batter's pull side, by far the most efficient direction to hit home runs, which is why over the past decade, the rate of pulled batted balls into the air, or pull air rate, has steadily increased league-wide. Between 2022 and 2025, the league average pull air rate was 17.7%. Only 2 players in this span produced a rate over 30%, Isaac Paredes and Cal Raleigh. Both of these guys have optimized their approach to chase the run certainty of home runs, but there still remains a glaring difference between the two. These are the quality of contact metrics for 2025 Cal Raleigh, basically what you'd expect from an MVP runner-up. And these are the metrics for 2025 Isaac Paredes. Do you notice a difference? Through this lens, you'd never expect Paredes to be the type of player to record 20+ home runs on an annual basis. Yet, due to optimizing his approach to produce pulled batted balls in the air, he's become a consistent home run threat. This approach is at the foundation behind prolific hitters such as Jose Ramirez, Kyle Schwarber, Mookie Betts, and crucially, 2021 Fernando Tatis Jr. Between 2019 and 2024, Tatis recorded an above-average pull air rate only once, and I think you can guess which season that was. Now sure, he displayed offensive excellence in the prior 2 seasons without a notable pull air rate. At the same time, his 2019 season was partially elevated by batted ball luck, while 2020 was a 60-game sample size. Even worse, since the peak of 2021, this rate has continuously trended downward, including a career low in 2025. Perhaps an adherence to a team-wide contact-oriented philosophy established in 2024 and 2025 is partially to blame. An approach that revitalized a downtrodden squad reeling from a historically disappointing 2023, but ultimately fizzled out in 2 straight postseasons and may ultimately be gone for good in 2026. In addition, in 2025, Tatis pursued a more patient approach, which resulted in career-best strikeout and walk rates, but also an odd mixture of a career-low swing rate while choosing to swing at the first pitch of an at-bat at a rate well above the league average. Frustratingly, many of these first-pitch swings resulted in ground balls due to a sweet spot rate that plummeted from mediocre to abysmal. Sure, he was still crushing the ball, but due to a career-high ground ball rate and career-low line drive rates, his rate of barrels declined significantly. Now, this isn't to say Tatis's 2025 season was devoid of any meaningful offensive moments.
In the air to deep left center field. It's back. It is gone. Fernando walks it off deep into the San Diego night.
But it was a streaky season to say the least.
Fly ball to center field. Lee going back out of the warning track at the wall will make the catch in front of it.
And it's arguable that the origins of this streakiness stem from this at-bat.
Tatis recoiling in pain. Looks like it caught his forearm. You can see a giant welt forming. Yeah, look at that.
Prior to this hit by pitch on May 2nd, Tatis hit 8 home runs between March and April, while ranking top 3 in WRC Plus and F4. Between this resurgent power, newfound plate discipline, and eventual platinum glove level defense, Tatis was a legitimate early favorite for NL MVP. Then he got hit by a fastball on the forearm. Fortunately, he was able to return to the lineup the following day, where he joined the 100 home run, 100 stolen base club with a trademark showcase of dramatic flair.
In the dirt, and here comes Fernando. He will be safe. He got in.
A consistent theme of Tatis's post-suspension tenure has been a demonstration of highlight reel moments, sometimes resulting in streaks akin to his pre-suspension self, but never a full season showcase. Tatis referred to his struggles as a combination of mental and mechanical challenges. Specifically, 2025 Padres hitting coach Victor Rodriguez highlighted the career-high ground ball rate as a sign of faulty mechanics, even suggesting that these mechanical flaws stem from wrongfully attempting to pull the ball in the air rather than focusing on sound mechanics that successfully result in pulled batted balls in the air. Plus, analysis published by Eno Saris and Dennis Lin of The Athletic hypothesized that Tatis's contact point was to blame. To put it simply, a contact point, or intercept point, is the point where the hitter makes contact with the ball. In 2025, Tatis's average intercept point was right here, about 29.9 inches from his center of mass. According to MLB.com's Mike Petriello, the league average intercept point is 30 inches. Your intercept point is often a clear indicator of your intentions at the plate. Players who hit the ball well out in front of the plate, such as Cal Raleigh, Isaac Paredes, and Max Muncy, seek to pull the ball in the air. On the flip side, players who let the ball travel deep over the plate, such as Juan Soto, George Springer, and Christian Yelich, spray the ball around the field. However, in terms of efficiency, Petriello found that the optimal intercept point for both overall and home run-centric production was at 36 inches, with the sweet spot ranging from 33 to 39 inches. While Tatis fell just outside this range, his average intercept point of around 30 inches was found to be precisely the most optimal point to make consistent contact. And since this data began being collected in 2023, he has remained around this figure. However, if it's to be believed that Tatis's mechanical issues derive from a desire to pull the ball, possessing an average intercept point optimized for contact rather than power only further complicated his ability to maximize his offensive potential. Unfortunately, there's no way of knowing Tatis's average intercept point pre-suspension to confirm this hypothesis. But looking at 2025 on a month-by-month basis, as the season went on, it seemed that Tatis made a conscious effort to swing a bit more ahead of the plate, which helped result in 2 of his best months in terms of slugging percentage, with month number 1 being an outlier. An outlier in more ways than one. In terms of StatCast run value, which is the sum of a player's contributions in terms of run impact, Tatis led the league in March and April with a plus 14 run value against pitches in the heart of the zone. By the end of the season, this number dropped to 0. Before his suspension, Tatis routinely crushed these types of pitches, even ranking top 3 league-wide in 2021. Post-suspension, he hasn't capitalized on these pitches at nearly the same level. I'm sure there's some sort of statistical reason behind this, but if I can offer an anecdotal perspective, as someone who watched most of Tatis's at-bats in 2025, it often seemed like he was trying to force something to happen rather than letting mistakes come to him. Case in point, the odd mixture of a below-average swing rate and above-average first-pitch swing rate. Also, when mistakes did present themselves, he wasn't capitalizing at the level you'd expect. I'm facing my demons. Sometimes I get out there and say, forget it, and I try to make something happen. But then I say, nah, it's not working that way. This ties back to the other side of Tatis's self-described offensive struggles, the mental side. Baseball is inherently a mentally taxing sport, and even the best players are susceptible to a slump. Plus, Tatis has stated that the fact pitchers adamantly pitch inside to him has probably messed up his approach at times. Given he's pitched inside at one of the league's higher rates, which has resulted in some nasty hit-by pitches and some stunning showcases of athleticism to avoid near misses, it's unsurprising to hear this. Overall, many components make up the aforementioned mental and mechanical challenges Tatis dealt with. But with that being said, it certainly wasn't enough to fully divert his 2025 season. 25 home runs, a career-high 32 stolen bases, and a second straight 130 WRC plus season. However, these WRC plus figures reveal an overarching conundrum. While Tatis produced near identical offensive value in the past 2 seasons, 2024's success stemmed from slug, in contrast to plate discipline in 2025. Between the constant batting stance alterations, aggressiveness on first pitch offerings while also prioritizing plate discipline, and the lack of power optimization, it seems like even Tatis is unsure of how he wants to cement his offensive identity, and it's limiting the maximum potential of his elite tools.
Once seen as one of the game's signature superstars, he remains enigmatic. He plays an exciting brand of baseball, but keep in mind, he is not the same player productively that he was before he failed his drug test.
Fernando el más completo.
Fernando el mejor pelotero de la Grandes Ligas.
¿Por qué?
In the air to deep left field, Fernando. Gone!
¿Qué no hace Fernando? Porque tú puedes tener peloteros que hagan de todo averaje. Él hace de todo élite.
As an individual, my goal it is winning an MVP. You know, making it happen.
All the respect to all the big league talent that's out there. I definitely acknowledge them. But when I'm 100% and my head is in the right spot, I feel like I'm second to no one in the baseball field. Strictly through the lens of tools, Tatis's elite status is unquestioned. Hard contact, home run power, electric speed, insane athleticism, and platinum glove level defense. Between these tools and his newly developed plate discipline, the potential to reach that upper echelon of talent showcased in 2021 is certainly possible. But until Tatis conquers his mechanical and mental barriers, he'll likely remain a 30-30, 130 WRC plus, 5-6 WAR guy for the foreseeable future. At a $24 million AAV through 2034, that's a steal. And with news of the Padres exploring a sale of the team, I've seen many fans itching at the thought of Tatis joining their team.
Oh, brother!
With that being said, according to the San Diego Union Tribune's Kevin Acey, team sources have emphatically denied such rumors, adding that the idea of a trade hasn't even been discussed. Still, the idea of trading a quote-unquote homegrown superstar locked down to a long-described statue contract would not only be a betrayal to the fans, but the man who spearheaded the transition into this current era of Padres baseball.
You know, me and Pete definitely had a relationship. Like, when I had my surgeries and, you know, I got my suspension, like, Peter was sitting in my house, had beautiful conversation with him of how San Diego was going to look the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. You know, every step that I go from here in my career here in San Diego, he's definitely going to be in my right shoulder, popping every single special moment.
About a week following the suspension announcement, Tatis met with owner Peter Seidler for a one-on-one conversation. 2 years prior, Seidler entrusted a 22-year-old Tatis as not only the face of the San Diego Padres, but an ambitious project hell-bent on transforming a historically downtrodden team into a big-market perennial contender. Between the motorcycle fiasco and PED suspension, there was ample reason for Seidler to unleash anger onto Tatis. However, Seidler disagreed with that sentiment. It was a significant body blow for him, for the organization, and for the fans. But yelling, screaming, breaking glasses, that wasn't going to help anything. I could see in his body language how bad he felt. Some humans, when this happens, they don't feel bad. They feel like they're the victim in some way. Fernando owned it. He felt bad because he knew he let people down, and when he started talking, he loosened up at some points. We talked about how this is a big one, but people bounce back from these things, and I knew he would. It was too fresh for him to really form a ton of thoughts, but I could see it. He knew what had happened, and he was going to figure out the best path forward. I trust him, Seidler said. I believe in him.
It's right before Fernando was about to run onto the field. He said, hey, check out these shoes. Peter Seidler on the outside and the inside part of the shoes to honor the late, great Peter Seidler. We miss him, but he's being thought of here today, guys, and certainly on the footwear of Fernando.
Driven to deep left field. It is back. Robertson looking up. It is gone.
2 years from now, he will be a superstar, and this will be in the past. That's what 2023 Padre Nelson Cruz claimed when Tatis returned from his suspension. Well, it's been 2 years, and judging by this clip, that's certainly not the case, and this is only elevated by the contrasting nature of his pre- and post-suspension numbers. However, regardless of whether he truly elevated his production with PEDs before his suspension, his current quality of contact metrics signal an attainable offensive echelon Tatis is capable of unlocking, but not until he fixes the numerous inefficiencies in his offensive approach. Perhaps that day will come, perhaps it won't. But what is certain is that in 2026, Tatis will officially surpass the length of his pre-suspension tenure. Over 3 years ago, Fernando Tatis Jr.'s career changed forever. The perception of his career is forever altered by self-induced negligence. Since then, he's slowly sought to revitalize a stained reputation unlikely to ever be fully atoned for in the eyes of many. Still, at his best, as brief as those streaks may be, his talent is unparalleled. In terms of how the rest of his career will be viewed, it will continue to be an ongoing question that can only be answered by Tatis's performance on the field. A perennial all-star is likely, but an MVP contender? We'll have to wait and see.
There's a reason why I always go running hard out there and just embracing the fan, enjoying them, and always, just giving them one.